The views and opinions expressed on This Can't Be Adulting are solely those of the host and do not represent or reflect the views of any individual, organization, employer, or entity we may be affiliated with. The content of this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Listener discretion is advised. Yo, welcome to This Can't Be Adulting, the podcast where two guys who probably should have it all figured out absolutely don't.
Careers, money, relationships. No one handed us a manual, so we're figuring it out the only way we know how, with real talk, deep dives, and a whole lot of laughs.
I'm Herb.
And I'm Derek. And if you're out here wondering, am I doing this right? Trust us, you're not alone.
So hit play, relax, and let's figure this out together. Yo, welcome back to This Can't Be Adulting episode 14. Derek.
Episode 14 out here, just still crushing life.
Still crushing. I feel like the energy's a little low over there with Derek. What's going on?
Oh, I'm tired, bro. It's been a long week.
Guys, you see I think this ties into our conversation
today. It does. It perfectly does. It 100% does.
Absolutely. So, without further ado, maybe speak a little bit about what we'll get into today, and then we'll go over some.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. You know, speaking of I'm tired and stuff like that, this is such a good topic to discuss because it's all over us. It's all over the internet. It's all over social media in subtle ways, but not so subtle ways.
Okay.
Right? And it's the idea of what does aging look like in everyday life? What does getting old look like? And when I say that it's all over social media, I mean, you see every little freaking hack to this will make you look younger. Do like this with your skin. Have this tummy tuck surgery. Oh, your hair's looking too gray. Like all over the place. The industry's trying to tell us.
That's so funny because my algorithm right now is filled with definitely some of those topics, that cosmetics that you went into.
Yeah.
And I ain't gonna lie, I might be sold on one of them. We can even get into it.
We're going to talk a little bit about how we feel, obviously, about our age. But the underlying topic and discussion that I want to have today is not even just about aging, but just this idea of change. The idea of change that is happening all around us, that is happening to us, that is happening with us, that is happening despite of us.
Okay.
And the idea of how human beings tend to fight that change. And one of the biggest changes in life is getting older and is aging.
And inevitable.
Inevitable.
Like, as my grandmother, R.I.P., rest of soul, would say, you better hope you live to be as old as me, because if you don't, you know what that means. You died young.
Exactly. So it's getting aging. And so I just want to delve into where we remember kind of realizing that at this age, I'm going to be old, right? You remember being younger?
Oh, yeah.
Being young and you always wanted to be bigger.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, when you were a kid. I remember being like, let's call it 5 years old. And it's like your parents would say, I can't do this because you're not a big boy. You're not big enough to do it. It's well, I can't wait to be 8. I can't wait to be 10. And so there was a time and place. There was a time when we wanted to be older.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so let's talk about that. Let's talk about what your childhood was looking like and when was those times? How old did you want to be? And then we'll go into when that changed.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the biggest thing for me, like growing up and like the big age, I think like there was certain age milestones that you always wanted to get to. I remember being one of the younger cousins in the group that I hung out with, and like my older cousins, a few years older than me, like turning 13, and they were like, my aunt was like, "You're off the clock," and I'm like, "Man, I can't wait till I turn 13. I'm off the clock." So
what does that mean, off the clock?
So the clock goes to 12. And
then, 13,
so now
okay.
You're off the clock. So that's what she's referencing.
I've never heard that before.
Man, so many Southern.
I was about to say, is that a Southern twang thing?
It is absolutely a Southern thing for sure.
Okay.
So I remember wanting to be 12. I'm like, oh, okay, I can't wait to be 12. Then after you got 12, the next thing was being 16 or 15.
What were the significances of this age? I know being 12 was the last time you were on the clock.
Now there's going to be a teenager.
You were going to be a teenager.
Yes.
That's what it was.
16 was more so you're going to get your driver's license.
Yeah.
So that was like, I can't wait till I'm 15. I can get my permit. And then when I'm 16, I get my license because then I can drive. And now I can really be free. So that was like, I can't wait till I'm 16 so I can get a car and drive around and do those things. So that was the next milestone I wanted to get to. And then, of course, like 18 wasn't as big of a deal to me. I don't think so. Not really, because not a whole lot changed for me, I feel like, once I got 18. Because then I was going off to college, of course, but it wasn't because of an age thing. Like, I remember going I graduated. I was 17, and I immediately went to Iowa. I didn't start school, but I immediately moved up there to start training and things like that. So I was 17 until middle of July. Or not, sorry, the beginning of July, and then I turned 18. But even then, I was still like going to the bars when I got there and stuff like that.
See,
So,
I
the
think
age didn't matter.
I think 18 was a big milestone for me, but like I think similar to you, there were those big ages as well. I remember 10 being a big age.
10.
Because then it was double figures.
That's true.
Oh, now I'm double figures. Now I'm 10. Nothing special came of it, but also nothing special came at 12 or anything like that. But I do remember 12 being a big. You know why? And it's funny for me being the shy kid that I was. For some reason, it was this like. I want to say rumor, but it was the talk among the classmates that 12 is when you start dating and getting girlfriends or something like that. I remember this vividly.
Okay.
Like asking my dad, and my dad being like, okay, like not knowing how to respond.
Like that.
And like my ass was out here talking to chicks, and I was so shy. Like there was no way I was dating at 12. But I remember that being a big thing for sure. I think 15 was a big age for me too because it was the learner's permit. Yes. I was able to get my learner's permit. Obviously 16 with the license type of a thing, but there was always this, I can't wait to get older.
Oh, yes.
I can't wait to do this. Yes. And it was because we thought we were going to get more liberties.
Yes, freedom. That's what I thought.
More liberties and more freedom as we got older.
My parents were holding me back.
Holding you back. God damn it. They've always been holding us. God damn it. But I think it's funny now that I'm older and I look back and it's like, shit. I had no worries back then. All I had to worry is about eating, shitting, sleeping, playing.
I wasn't even worried about that.
Yeah, I wasn't even worried about that.
I was just living.
I'm not even saying worried, but like that was the only things that I had to do.
Yes.
And in hindsight, now we're fucking adults, and we got this podcast. This can be adults, and like it's all tying together again. Man. But again, it's this, going back to the whole concept and the idea of like how we viewed aging back then. And so I guess that brings me into another question: when you were, let's call it 10 years old. Like, what did you think 40 was going to be
like? Old, bro. Old. I think about my parents who are, I guess my mom's about 28 years older than me. My mom's about 28, dad's about, or same difference. But I remember them growing up and when they were like turning 35, I don't know why, it was like the first birthday I remember of my parents, like them turning 35. I'm like, damn, they old as hell.
Yeah.
And then 40 was like, bruh. And if they would have talked about like going out or doing any of the things that I do right now, I'd be like, what are y'all doing? Sit y'all old ass down. Like that was old to me. So what about you?
Yeah. No, I think it was the same thing. I remember my parents turning 30 because my mom had me when she was, how old is my mom when she had? Maybe 26. So I don't know if I remember her being 30. Maybe it was a little bit older than that. But like I remember them being in their 30s and like just definitely thinking like, damn, they old.
Yeah.
All this responsibilities that they have, like they got to cook and clean. And I don't know if I internalized it like that, but it was like you're the adults. Like this is the thing, you're the adults. But I don't think I ever thought about the physical toll age takes on people back then. That's not what the thought was. For us, it was again freedom. Yes. It was I'm an adult.
Yeah,
I can do what I want.
I want to get out here. You keep telling me to come home. I don't want to have to come home. I can't wait till I'm old enough and do what I want to do. And she's like, all right, pay them bills too now.
I think we're getting to a bottom of something there because I wanted to try to understand the dichotomy between why we thought getting older and again, not to say that getting older is a bad thing. Again, the whole point of this episode, this topic is talking about how aging is something we need to accept, but how at a younger age you look forward to getting older. Obviously, at an older age, you're like, God damn it, I wish I was back then. Yes. So we'll touch on that, but we are getting to a bottom of it. Yeah, the tipping point. And obviously, it came down to this idea of freedom and liberation that we were going to have, but also it's this concept of what society and culture also taught us and our families taught us. Because if you remember, I remember at least on my part when I was growing up, my parents to get me to behave or do something, they would say, "Oh, eat your vegetables like a big boy, like a grown boy." Like even little subtle phrases like that was like it's a passage of getting closer to being free and an adult if you do X, Y, Z type of a thing. I don't know if that's making sense. Yes. If you hear kind of what I'm saying, but it's like these phrases that we use in society to make kids do things because getting older is the goal, I guess.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's kind of like a Flintstone kids. Like, did you eat the vitamins?
Eat the vitamins. Like,
yeah. I think those types of things, like those types of messages, I think kind of hit into where you're saying going in. But I also am interested in, like, as you mentioned, like that tipping point. And when it flipped for you.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And because I didn't really start feeling like I was old and like feeling the age, right? Because I think that's the big thing right here is
Yeah,
when
what do
did
you
I
mean by maybe ask that when you're saying older or feeling old? What are we describing
So
here?
we can talk about two things. We can talk about physically. Physically, what did that feel like? When did I start feeling like I was getting older?
Yes.
Emotionally, we can start talking about that too, and mentally, right?
Yeah.
Like when did that tipping point actually hit? I feel like I had this youth of me all the way straight through my 20s.
Yeah.
Like even though I was out in the real world, having a big boy job, making my own money, paying my own bills, there was still a sense of youth and freedom.
And you're talking about physically.
Both physically, mentally,
Oh, okay.
mentally, even emotionally to an extent.
Yeah.
Like there are things that certainly happen, relationships and certain small hardships maybe in work, but nothing that was super lasting.
Right.
And so I felt like I was living a very free and liberated and joyful, youthful life without too many worries. Again,
Yes.
even though I was paying rent, I didn't have a house to buy.
Yeah.
Wasn't worried about my 401k, even though I was contributing to it, but I wasn't like, what's that going to look like? I wasn't thinking about, am I going to have money for retirement?
Yes.
I wasn't thinking about any of that. I wasn't concerned about how much sleep I had.
You were still feeling invincible.
I was still feeling invincible. I wasn't concerned necessarily too much about what I was putting in my body, from food to alcohol to drugs.
Yeah, okay.
Like I wasn't so concerned with that
yeah.
because I wasn't feeling it so much.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so I think the other big piece about it, and we talked about this in other episodes too, but it's who's around you at the time.
That is true.
And I was around you.
Yeah.
I was around a bunch of people who was out here just acting in our 20s. And like, who you're around also influences how you feel, think, and act in a lot of ways. Who you stick around with. So I think that was my big thing. So I'll pause there and I'll kick it over to you and ask you the same question.
Yeah. I think that when I started to feel old is when I turned. I think 30 was the first time I ever thought about like, oh shit, I'm getting old. And again, it tied back into when I was younger and my mom turned 35. I was like, holy shit, they're old. Now like I'm in my 30s. I'm gonna be 35 in a few years. Damn, I'm about to be old. So I think that was the first time where it kind of flipped. Similar to you, I still thought I had that physical, that invincibility in me all throughout my 20s. Now, I will say once I got probably closer to 30, I started to feel physically, and I wasn't working out at all. So I started to physically, like, start to feeling those diminishes. Like I didn't feel like I was physically myself. However, mentally, I still felt young. And I thought I was still, I would say mentally, I still felt young. Still making a whole lot of foolish mistakes, whether that's financial, whether that was professional. I still making a whole lot of foolish mistakes. So mentally, I was still young, but like I felt like physically, I was starting to see chinks in the armor. I would say around that 30 age, approaching 30, around that 29 to 30 range.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you. That's around the same exact time that I started really feeling the change. And really when it was 30 years old when I finally moved back out on my own.
Okay.
And I had my own apartment because you and I both lived with the same roommate for a while. You, after I moved out, you moved in and took my spot, but I had been living with roommates for like 3.5 years, 3 years. And so it felt very youthful, felt very college-esque.
Okay.
We kind of lived like in a college dorm. That's really what it was. Even though when I first moved to Austin, my first year, I was living by myself. Okay. But like, I also, I had fucking plastic bowls and spoons and shit. Like, yeah. Like college dorms. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't have any furniture in my apartment. And like, so yeah, it was. I was 27. You know what I mean?
Single ply toilet paper. Back
Not no more. Give me the bidet or the wet wipes. That's it with my old ass. Day. Literally with my old ass.
All day.
And then you hit 30 and I moved in on my own and I was like, all right, I got to start making some changes. And, people around me are making changes and I should probably think about buying a house and oh shit, I am getting older. I am feeling it. I am getting hurt now when I go do athletics more often. Yes. I'm going to play soccer and I'm feeling it from that perspective. And then just the pressures of everyone around me doing things and the pressures of being like, I'm in my 30s. I need to be trying to act like an adult. We talked about this in many of these episodes. And many of these episodes. But I think that's also kind of, I want to be able to tie in the other piece of this that's important because age is just a part of change. right? And so this idea of change, if you think about how many things have changed in our lives, since the time we were born to the time we're here now. And I'm not even just talking about age. Obviously, you get older, but like what type of things have changed? Like we've moved. Yeah. I've moved numerous times. I've gone off to college.
Yeah.
I've
Social circles.
moved to DC. Social circles changed. I think, if I'm being honest, I feel like it was easier when I was younger to change than it is now. And I feel like now, even though I understand change is inevitable, I feel like I fight it more now. I feel like now I want more stability and more homeostasis, for lack of a better word. and even though I know intellectually that trying to keep things the same is a recipe for disaster.
Okay.
I guess for lack of a better phrase, but I guess how does aging fit into this concept of change for you in your life, if it does at all?
I mean, I think that's just, at least been something that's inevitable, like evolution. And I think I've always been a proponent of that. So I understood, like, with getting older or with age, there would be change. Now, I think the thing that you can never expect is what those changes will look like and how they will impact you yourself. And I think for me, just seeing, like, I've always been open to change. Like
You have been. Okay.
I am very, I can fly by the wind. I could be spontaneous. So change is never change moving. Like when I moved from LA to Austin, it was in a matter of like 9 days. Like, okay, I guess I'm gonna move to Austin now. Never been here before, moved here, and that was it. Like, so I feel like I'm always open to change. However, I would say, far as like, things that I didn't know how they were gonna impact me, I would say I thought at this age in my life that I would have had certain things, and because I don't have those things, that's more, I feel like, the impact of age and like how that's having impacted me personally. It's just like, am I living up to my expectations, or am I making sure that I'm progressing in a positive way as a human? And like, I think those are the things I started to think about as I gotten older, and how I kind of think about how it's impacted on change on me there.
Yeah, no, and I get that, and we've covered that in previous episodes about this idea of, are we where we thought we were going to be?
Yep.
And I do think that's a layer of change, or that's a type of change that we're talking about, because it's the change of what we thought we were going to be versus what the reality is.
Yeah.
All right. So change, I think, is also interchangeable, or at least somewhat related, adjacent to these outcomes that we're tied to in life. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. With age, you have to experience, almost like the experience thing. You have to have these experiences and with these, the only way to have those experiences is with time and age, and that kind of
right. But I think even more so is that we're always tied to outcomes in our mind as human beings.
Okay.
Meaning we're always thinking, all right, I want this to be this way, or it's going to turn out this way or that way and this way and that way. And when we're married to that and tied to that, and it doesn't happen, we start feeling a certain way about that. Absolutely. And I think that's what you're saying, in a sense, because you're like, I thought that I was going to have certain things by a certain age. We were just talking about it before the podcast started, where we're talking about, man, I'm buying things and it's not even necessarily making happier. And we're going to have a whole episode about that, because that's super important. But like, it's this idea about outcomes, and it's this idea about when things change and don't turn out the way that you think they're going to turn out, we fight that. We fight that so much, as opposed to accepting that.
Yeah.
And that's a huge part of suffering for human beings. I want to say is the lack of acceptance of the things that change and the things that don't turn out the way they want to turn out. What do you think? I
think, and I don't want to get crazy into like tying these theories in it, but I think this also kind of ties into AI. Okay. And we're talking about outputs and prompting and outputs, and all AI, when we're speaking from the a chat GPT standpoint, all we are seeing are these outputs. It's giving us these outputs, and that's what we're holding to, and that's what we're like clinging on to. That's the value of it. And I think this goes back to what you were mentioning of, we're fighting the outputs of what we thought was going to be versus what reality is. And it goes, I think all those things kind of tie in, where you're saying, like, why are we so focused on the outputs? Because that is the society we live in, is the output society. It's like, what what is real, that's the only thing we can kind of measure. And it's hard to measure a lot of things when it comes to humans. It's a lot of things that are very variable, and it's not very quantitative, but the outputs are something that we can measure. Like, did I get married by this age? Do I have this much money by this age? Do I have these things by this age? Like, those are the only things we can quantitate. So I think that's kind of why we so focused on what the output is versus what the process may be.
When you say quantitate, you mean quantify?
Yeah, quantify.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are the things you want to quantify. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, quantitate could be a word. I don't know.
Quantitative, yeah.
Yes, I hear you from that perspective. Have you ever watched the documentary on Netflix by Jonah Hill called Stutz?
It's not ringing a bell.
Okay. It came out 2 years ago, I want to say, 2.5 years ago. It's a really good one. It's about Jonah Hill created this documentary about his therapist.
Yes, I've seen it, but I don't recall it.
Yes, that's his therapist. And his therapist Jonah Hill tells all of his patients, all right, there are 3 definites in life: uncertainty, fear, and hard work. Okay. And the minute you can accept that those are going to be permanents in your life, the only permanents in your life, speaking of, change and impermanence and all that stuff, but those 3 things are guaranteed in life. Mm-hmm. And those are the 3 things that we fight so much, because when change happens, uncertainty happens.
Absolutely.
Fear arises.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be a level of hard work to adjust to that change that's going to happen as well.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So I think that's really what people are so fearful about. That's why people don't like to accept change, I think, human beings, is because they feel a level of uncertainty.
Absolutely.
Right now I'm in a level of uncertainty. I'm like, I'm going to leave my job soon. Like, it's going to happen. And what am I going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. I still don't know. What am I going to do with money? And there's this uncertainty, which leads to fear.
Absolutely.
And then it also leads to the fact that I'm going to have to work my ass off to figure out what the fuck I'm going to do to pay the bills, to continue paying my mortgage, to continue living my life.
Or even harder work to figure out what's going to make you happy.
And there we go. And that takes work.
Yep.
Right? So knowing that those 3 definites are in life, and knowing that one of those 3, if not all 3, if not 2, if not all 3 of those are the reasons why humans resist change, it makes a lot of sense, right? Yeah. If you think about evolution of human beings 12,000 years ago, a predictable life was a safe life.
Exactly.
Right? So it's based off of fear of us surviving, which is why we don't like change. We want to be able, back then, they would migrate. They knew where, the mammoths were at a certain time of year. Absolutely. They knew where to plant at a certain time of year. And they got used to that because that's helped them survive. And when shit changed, it's like, oh shit, how do we adjust to this? How do we do this? I don't know. That's my theory. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think you're right, spot on. Like, it's been throughout civilization. Like, stability has helped civilization to thrive.
Yeah.
And I think that where that went from being, hunters to becoming, gatherers, and then getting hunter-gatherers, then becoming like farming, like that was all about that process of creating stability. Now we didn't have to migrate around with the animals. Now we could set up shops in one place when agriculture came along. So I think over the course of civilization, we've been looking for stability. And I think that's why change is so, feels so, visceral to us, because that, or the fear of that, or invokes those 3 things, is because civilization has thrived on stability.
Yeah.
And change, though. I guess you could say
both. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, and I think that's what it is. I think it's interesting because change has always been there, and it's always around, and yet we still resist it. And so it's got to be some sort of evolutionary thing. Maybe it's what keeps us on our toes. Maybe
it's like death. Death is around. We know it's inevitable.
That's part of change too. We still fear it.
Still fear. Like, I think it's just, just a human emotion. I don't think it's about rooting out fear or rooting out anxiety.
No.
Those, as we mentioned, are gonna happen. And
it's about acceptance, man.
Accepting that.
It's about acceptance. It doesn't mean you have to like it, by the way.
Acknowledging and accepting it, and then
that's where the work starts. That's where the hard work. But I think people confuse the 2 words of acceptance and liking it and finding joy in it, and those are not the same thing. There's a difference between, you know what, this shitty shit's happening to me, instead of me sitting here fighting it and acting like it's not, and trying to distract myself from what's happening. Let me accept this ugly feeling. Let me accept this fear. Let me accept these nerves. Let me accept this anxiety. And when you accept it and just go, okay, this is here, you can get through things so much faster
Yes.
and so much better.
Yes.
That's liberating. That's liberating. And it's unfortunate, myself included, as much as I know that intellectually, I'm one of the biggest fighters of change and the biggest fighters of emotions and feelings that happen. Even though intellectually, I'm like, come on, bro, you know this is not the case, right? That's part of the reason why I have so much anxiety is because of my fear of what might or might not happen in the future, the outcome stuff. And it's like, even though I know as an intelligent 40-year-old man, I'm not 40 yet, I'm 39. Don't fucking forget. Speaking of fear of age. Still holding on to my 30s. But like, does that make sense? Did you follow me there?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I think that, I think that's just human nature, as we keep hitting on as far as the human nature. But also something you had said earlier as far as went into like aging, and when I kind of thought about some of the stuff, it is the friends that we're around, as we kind of mentioned, that is that when you and I met, I tended to be one of the older people in our crowd. So that was also, and that was around that end of my 30s, close to the start of my 30s, in the late 20s, early 30s. So I think that was one thing I had to adjust to, because growing up, I was always one of the younger cousins.
Same.
So I was always the younger one. So then when it kind of flipped to like, now I'm the older one, I was like, damn, I'm feeling old as hell. I'm 29, or 25. Like, that's so much older.
Oh, I remember my 30th birthday. Remember the crew that we hung out with? Like, all of them, y'all threw me a freaking birthday dinner at some Russian restaurant, and like everyone was ragging on me for being 30 because they were all like 25, 26. They were like, damn, you old.
Bro,
and I'm just sitting here being like, oh, I'm about to be 40 now. And mind you, all of them had kids or are married now.
Yeah, we're still only ones.
We out here doing a podcast, dog. What's good about this? This can't be adulting.
Yeah, we gonna teach y'all how to be adults, not that stuff that they doing.
Yo, that's funny. But let me ask you a question. Speaking about, obviously, aging, change, can you remember a time in your life where you resisted change tremendously? And I guess with the exception of like the biggest one, which we talked about last episode, your father passing away. Let's put that one aside. I think we delved into that deeply last weekend. But can you think of any other time in your life where change was happening and you were resisting it in some way, shape, or form, either physically, emotionally, mentally?
I think there's a few that come to mind. One being how when we were first starting to hang out, and the whole crew and environment, the culture that we were a part of, and then having someone outside of that culture kind of critiquing me on it and being like, oh, when you're gonna grow up. And that was one of the main things. And it was an ex that was mine. It was like, when you're gonna grow up, that's not. And I'm like over here fighting, like, oh no, you're just being old. You don't know what you're talking about. Not even that you're being old, but you're just being critiqued, and you're more like you're coming out of a term of like jealousy or envy, as opposed to being like taking it as just like observation, where that was one of the first times I kind of started to feel like fighting that change, because I was fighting this person.
Gotcha.
Calling, the group that we were hanging with immature. So then that was me. Like, now all of a sudden I had this, I don't know, I was like hell bent on proving it wrong, per se. And I think I was like fighting it instead of accepting and being like, yeah, you are getting older. And that doesn't mean that necessarily what you're doing is immature. I mean, there were some immature things, but that doesn't mean that, one, you can't acknowledge it, and two, just accept it and either make the changes or accept it. But I think that was one of the times I really, really was fighting. It was as we were hanging out kind of towards maybe a few years ago at the 10, and just still felt like we were doing things that may have been slightly immature. That was one that's really, really sticks out to mind, just because it's super recently.
Yeah.
Any other changes, I feel like, whether that was moving, whether that was, I went to the same school, K through 12, and then I only went to one college, so there wasn't a big change there. So I think that's the one that kind of stand out, I would say. How about yourself?
Before we go on to me, going back to the first one, though, when did you accept that, though, that the change was happening and that you were getting older, and that...
That's a good question. I mean...
I don't even know if I want to say that it was that and you needed to grow up, per se. That's a subjective thing, but when did you accept that you had been getting older?
I would probably say within the last 2 years.
Oh, just recently?
Just recently, bro. Like, just recently, I would say... And I would say the thing that probably helped, maybe even in the last 5 years, but coming out of post-COVID, where everything kind of slowed down, you can kind of do this evaluation. It made it easy to look back and reflect on things. So I would say post COVID is kind of when I started to see it. And within the last like 2 years, I finally like kind of accepting it. Like, bro, you old as well.
Yeah. No, I hear you, and I think similar for me. I think I fought this notion of just getting older, and not necessarily twofold. Getting older physically, yes, I fought it for a while because I, as you all know, D1 college soccer athlete here.
Yeah, respect my boy.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I played soccer for a while.
Yes.
And I kept trying to go back and play in my 30s. I tore my Achilles when I was 35. And that's an age thing. That's literally an age thing. It happens mostly to men in their 30s. Once they get past their 30s who are, think they want to still be athletic. Tore my Achilles and I kept coming back and I was like, I'm going to play again. And I kept getting hurt. And I just, finally last year I was like, dude, stop. Just like stop. Like, I was fighting it though.
Yeah. I
was like, nah. I was like, there's ways you can still be active. Mm-hmm. There's ways you can still go out there and do your thing without having to play soccer. But soccer was too demanding on my body, dog. And I had to come to terms that like, I'm not young like that anymore.
I feel you.
And it was a little sad, but like the minute I accepted it, like it hasn't been that bad. Like, yeah, I miss it, but I'm not like, oh my God. It's just kind of like, all right, like I still go to the gym. I can still lift. I still look better than half of you little 25-year-olds. And so, you know what I mean? So does Herb. What's good? I'm just saying. And
youth is wasted on the young.
Youth is wasted on the young. You know the other place too, and this is more of an aging thing, bro. Like, my hair's thinning.
Bruh.
My hair is thinning, man. And I did not want to accept it for like 2 years. And I was like, all right, this motherfucker's thinning. Like, it just is.
As a guy who's, we talked about this cosmetics, bro. I think I'm about to get onto this. We can jump back in here. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to go get this transplant. If you want to go with me to India,
going to Turkey.
Yeah,
India.
Turkey. Sorry, Turkey. We can go to Turkey and get this transplant.
We can go to Colombia too.
I seen it there. I don't know, man. I just
that's not good enough quality. Not good enough quality.
I can't. You know what? I need to see more results. I ain't gonna rule it out. That's because, as you know, I am a fan of Colombia.
Yes, you are. Been there more than I have.
Yeah, I'm on my second resident.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely look at that. But yeah, I think I'm dead serious, bro. Like next 2026, bro, it's happening, and that's all because I've gotten insecure over this losing my hair and specifically in my crown to where it's like it's an aging thing. It's inevitable, but it just made me feel old. And that's one of those things I'm like fighting it. Like, oh my God, if I let my hair go, I'm really going to be old.
Yeah, dude, but you're 6 foot. Like, who can actually see up there besides me and other people? A couple of guys.
It's in my head, bro.
It's in your head.
I can't even tell
you. Nah, you're right, because I feel the same way. Mm-hmm. I'm lucky that I'm 6'2", and most people can't see, because when I say I'm like thinning, they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, yo, I'm fucking thinning. Like, I can just feel like I can't do my hair like I used to. I look at pictures, and I'm like, look at that thick fucking hair when I was 33 years old. I'm like, fuck, no. Not even that. Could, but I'm even looking at like when I was 32, 33.
Yeah.
But like, yo, I've been fighting it. I've been taking fucking medicine for it.
Me too.
Like, I've been taking Finistorad.
I don't know what that is, but I've been putting the Rogaine.
You've been putting Rogaine. A lot of the pills and the medicine, they have Finistorad in there, but this is like the actual pure that is prescribed from the doctor.
Yeah.
I've been taking that.
Does it work?
It's only been 90 days, and it says you got to wait at least 3 to 4 months for it to start really kicking in.
That's true.
And for me, it's not even about growing my hair back. Like, just stop thinning. Just like chill right here.
See,
I can live with it right here. Yeah, you do need.
I need it back.
I don't think you need it back, but you lost it up there already.
Okay, I even tell you why this even makes me self-conscious. When it makes me more self-conscious, and we're not gonna delve too deep into these topics because it's not what we usually do on this podcast. However, when you're with your old lady, and you're in a compromising position. I won't say compromise. You're in a specific position. I know that she can see the top of my head, all I can think about in this moment when I shouldn't be thinking about this is she looking at my bald spot.
Yo, that shit's fucking. I'm stopping. I'm dying, man.
So that's why I'm really going to get this hair done.
Oh, you want to know how to adult? That's how you adult right there.
Things that you have to deal with as an adult.
Oh my God, I'm dying. But no, that is one of the biggest resistance that I'm just like. Part of me is like, nah, I'm gonna go fight it. You're clearly still fighting it. I'm fighting a little bit too. I got the shampoos and everything. And part of me is like, am I really gonna go get surgery? I'm like, I might just let it go, but also I'm going to look terrible bald. I'm going to look awful. Like, it's just, but like how much of it is like, you got to let it be, It
is true because there is a sense of like, and I know we're speaking specifically to cosmetics, and I know that I do have a question I want to ask. I'll bookmark it, but it is, I think, for me, the biggest thing I'm seeing with age is the changes in my physique. and specifically when it comes to like the balding, I say that's the biggest thing. But even getting grays, like I have grays in my beard, I get grays. I dye my hair. Like that's a whole other thing. We don't
See, I wouldn't mind grays, man. It just makes me. To me, I feel like it would make me look distinguished. You look like a distinguished gentleman.
Absolutely, I don't mind the grays in the beard.
I prefer the grays over the baldness.
Well, the gray, what happens is I wouldn't mind the gray if I had a full head of hair. Correct. However, the grays make the bald spots lighter, so then that's why I got to get the grays out, because when you make it darker, it kind of gives you a little bit more coverage. Again, these are the types of things that are going through my head that are affecting me as because of aging and change, like say fighting that change of just being like, man, not having hair would make me feel really, really old. I feel.
And the reality is that you and I actually look pretty damn good for our age.
Absolutely, people tell me all
the time. And I'm not gonna sit here and fake like I'm good with looking like I'm 34, 35. I'm like, cool. If people be out there being like, oh, I thought you're 29, I'm like, all right, stop lying. Like, we're not going to do all that. Like, I get it. You want to make me feel good, but like, I'm good. But the one thing, too, that I also realize is that, like, my bags under my eyes, bro, are just much more significant and pronounced than they were, man.
I get that.
Some crazy shit.
I mean, you got a whole, do you do a skincare?
I used to, but I want to try. Again, here's us resisting change, resisting age. This is the whole point of the episode. And, like, I didn't even think it was going to go down this route, but, like, this is the reality of how we're thinking and what we're doing at 40 years old.
Yes, absolutely. Now, the thing I did want to bookmark and ask you was that you kind of mentioned, like, you get this, as you age, you have a physical change. Mm-hmm. As you age, you have a mental change and spiritual change like this. Have you experienced all of those changes simultaneously? I hope I'm saying this.
Simultaneously, yeah.
There we go. Or have they come at different times?
The physical change is always going to happen. I also feel like all of them is just like a growth in progress. Now, when we're talking about drastically, yeah, I think mentally it was quite a drastic change in my 30s where it was like, fuck, like I hit myself hard with the, dude, you're a certain age, like you got to start figuring this shit out. And then like mentally, a lot of things started changing for me. Mm-hmm. Emotionally, I think tied in with the mental aspect of it, I think emotionally I've learned to more or less understand how do I say this? How my actions and my words can affect other people.
Okay.
And how to be try to be much more laid back, but also, not laid back's not the word, but try to be much more cognizant of that, yes. But also be much more aware of my own sanity and inner peace. And so trying to balance out, how do I take care of my inner self peace and do me and create boundaries, mm-hmm. but also do it in a way where you're not hurting anyone else's feelings or anything like that.
It's funny you said the word boundaries. Is that something that you've always felt like you've had, or something that you've implemented late in life? And I ask because that's a great word you said. I feel like that's something that I'm still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, no, I don't think, I think we need to, well, let me just speak to me. I don't like the idea, because we do this a lot as human beings too. Speaking of change, although we do this whole thing, and we were talking about it before, again, like the money thing, but like we constantly have a goal and think that when we get there, we're done.
Oh gosh. Yes.
And so by that, I mean like the emotional change, the mental change, like that's going to be a work in progress all the time.
There is no destination.
There is no destination. It's just a journey, and it's just about getting better and better. With the boundaries thing, I think that's something that I'm always learning how to properly do them. I don't think I had as many boundaries when I was younger.
Is this something that you were taught, or something that you just kind of learned?
I learned.
Okay.
I learned that I could have boundaries through therapy. I learned it through meditation. Like, I'll never forget my most impactful therapist, who she ended up retiring in 2021, I want to say. But I went to her for like 3 years. She said something that just like made so much sense. And it was like, you don't have to explain yourself to anyone.
Okay.
And I was like, what you mean? And what she means isn't like, oh, like, how do I say this? It doesn't mean like if you're in a relationship and like something's happened, like you don't tell them what's happening. But it's more of like, hey, if you don't want to do something, it's your right to say you don't have to do it. You don't want to do it, and you don't have to actually explain it to someone. And that was so impactful to me, because that's the approach that I try to take with my friends now. Mm-hmm. Like I'll ask them like, hey, like, what's up with this? And like, nah, I'm good. And I'm like, all right, cool. You don't need to tell me why.
Yep.
It's none of my business. But at least give me an answer, yes or no, and I won't ask any more questions. And for a while, it was so hard because I was such a people pleaser that I felt like I would have to explain myself to everybody when it's like, nah, like, do you want to come out? And this, and admittedly, this happened a lot right before and right around when COVID started with our friend circles, where they would ask me to come out and I just didn't want to come out, and people would like get like, why doesn't he want to hang out with us? Like, what's wrong? Was he mad at us? And it got me really pissed off for a while because I'm like, yo, I just don't want to. Like, don't, like, it has nothing personal against you. Like, I just don't want to. I just want to chill and be in my own zone. And that took a while for me to be comfortable with.
I think, and to piggyback off that, it's funny you say, I think you never know, I know we've been friends, for a while now, and you just never know the impact you have on them. You're one of the first people that I saw kind of take on that approach. And I was like, and I do recall people asking me about, Derek, or, why like this. And they're like, he has it right. Like, you do not have to explain. And I fall into the people pleasing personality as well.
Yeah.
And like, you come up with these elaborate reasons why you're not doing things.
Right.
Just instead of just saying no.
Right.
Like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Okay. And not having to explain it. And I think that you were the first person I saw kind of take that on. And I was like, you know what? I need to be just more like, hey, I don't just say no.
Yeah.
And that's the end of it. It doesn't require no, comma, blah, 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 blah.
Correct.
It just no period.
Correct.
And that's okay. And
no period is a full sentence.
That's it.
It's a full sentence.
That's all that matters. Now, of course, your friends are going to check on you and do wellness things. I'm not saying, don't check on your friends and things like that. But I think it is important to have that space with your friends in your social circle for them to be able to say no, and vice versa. Because I do think that is a huge thing, and it's growing up and becoming older. I think that's, you kind of see old people just, state their mind. They just speak their mind.
Yeah.
I think that is a thing, is to get mature, being like, you know what? I don't have to like fluff everything up. Just tell it how it is, how I feel. And
liberation.
Going on.
It's a liberation thing. It makes you feel free.
Yes.
I also think in order for that to work, because that can work for you and you still feel on mine, but in order for it to be harmonious, is your friends also got to be on the same page to understand that. And that's why when I started doing it, I was like, hey, if you're going to practice what you preach, you also got to understand that too. If someone says that no to you, then that's it. Like, you're good. Because the idea is like, I'm good enough friends with you to know, I should be good enough friends with you to know that you have your reasons and I don't need to be concerned about them.
Exactly.
If there's an issue or personal issue, you would come to me and talk to me.
Yep.
If not, then we're good.
Yes.
And that took me a while, but that was part of the emotional growth that I had to take, and that change that actually happened that I didn't want to accept for a while, because I was like, oh, I'm going to make people feel uncomfortable. But it's like, nah, man, we older now.
Yes.
And so when we older, there's a level of maturity, like, take that step. Right. And it did take me a while. That is actually one of the things that I probably fall a little bit to, was being much more, was putting up those boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that, and I think that's getting older. There is a level of that naturally comes, but I do think it's important to be cognizant of just speaking your mind. I don't want to say just speaking your mind, because that's not what we're saying per se, but it is just being
comfortable with your convictions and with your decisions, and with what you want.
Yes. And being like, not, I don't want to say stern, but just being, like you say, just speaking confidence and just saying, this is what it is, and it's okay. And that is okay. And like you say, in your social circles, it does take a level of maturity, but I do think that if you have a good social circle, they'll be accepting of that, and vice versa. So I think that's been good. That's a thing that I definitely will say I've taken away from this friendship, is that you're change and being more direct. So I do appreciate that.
Oh, I appreciate you for bringing that up. I didn't know that, and so I'm glad that
old dog learn new tricks.
Yeah, 40-year-old ass. Yo, it's funny. One thing you were talking about, like you're talking about when like the freedom and liberty that older people have. I always make this joke, but I'm gonna tell you right now, man. The one thing I am looking forward to getting older is not working anymore. That is true. And it's not giving a fuck. I want to be grandpa that farts at the kitchen table, and that's it.
Get your nasty ass grandpa.
That's grandpa. He's just farting again, and me not just giving a shit. Me
go back to that room
with a face like this.
Go turn that YouTube on for his ass and take that tray back there.
What? Grandpa, you're farting again. I can't hear it. You got to smell that at least, dog. Oh man, one thing, kids, you got to look forward to about getting old, man. That's the one thing you look for.
As my grandma, again, you better hope you get old.
Yeah.
But if you don't, you die young.
You die young.
You better hope you get old. And I think that's always something that I was looking at her just saying that, and as I've gotten older, it just rings true and true as I've getting like gone from being a younger, cousin in my family to now being one of the older. I'm getting unc status, bro. I'm officially
You
unc
unk.
status, and I'm
Oh.
like, I'm a good unc too now. Don't get me wrong, I'm the unc you want to be. I'm the fun unc for sure, but I'm an unc status now, and I'm like,
When you say
dang.
unk status, does that actually translate to because you have nieces and nephews, or you're just at an
No,
age
just
where people around
yo,
you
you
calling
unc
you unk?
status too, bro.
I it's funny you say that. I was hanging out with a bunch of SHIers last year, about a year ago, that were younger than me. That one of them started calling me unk, bro, and I'm like, dog. He was like, "Nah, you unk now," and I'm like, "Damn, huh?" He's like, "Yeah, you unk now, dog." I said, "I guess I am, dog."
Bro, that happened at my last role. That's what they called me unc. I'm like,
Yeah,
dang, like I'm about to
that's
be 40, and everybody's like turning 27 and turning like
yeah.
or 32 or like those younger age. I'm like, dang.
And
But
it's a big it's a big difference. It's a big difference with respects to change. Obviously, respects. I don't even know why I gotta say that. We know we're talking about change, but like we've been interchanging between aging and change, even though it's aging is change, change is aging. It's really the same thing. But this idea of impermanence, right? Because I think that's also falls hand in hand.
Okay.
We were talking about people. We're always scared of death, even though it's inevitable.
Yep.
We're scared of change, even though it's inevitable. And all that really means is that nothing's permanent, man. Right? Like the reality is nothing is permanent.
Very true. But it's still, again, we got back to accepting it.
It's accepting it. I 100% agree with you. But like, let's just, I'm going to, full sentence. Nothing is permanent. There is no ands. There is no buts. Nothing. And people can talk about, well, the universe. The universe is not permanent.
No.
Cosmic scales, cool.
Yeah,
but
maybe
at
they
some
hit you with,
point, it's going to
yeah,
end.
yeah.
At some point, it's going to end in some way, shape, or form. It could be 16 trillion years from now. That's still an end at some point, right? And so people need our son's going to die in another 5.5 billion years.
Yeah.
The Earth is probably not going to
scary.
be here in another billion years.
Oh, man, I can't wait. That day is going to be crazy.
Yeah. We about to be 42 by then, right? Yeah,
I
we'll
mean,
be 42.
Not that much older. Probably on episode, 1400.
Yeah. Maybe. But like this idea of permanence, but it also makes you think like for as much as we have, and I'm talking about you and I, not accepted change in certain ways or have fought change in certain ways. Think about all the shit that has changed in the past. Think about shit that you remember in the past that you thought was going to be forever or for a long time, and then it didn't end up being it, and maybe how much that kind of sucked, and now we're sitting here talking about it as a distant memory.
For do you have something specific?
Well, yeah, all right, so something that just happened recently. My parents moved to Colombia, and they just sold the home that we lived in for 25 years.
Bro, okay.
And now granted, for me, it wasn't too hard because we moved in there my freshman year of high school. And so I lived there for 3 years, and I went off to college for 4.5 years, and then I came back for 6 months. Then I moved to D.C. for 2.5 years. Then I moved back in the house for about 2.5 years. Then I've been in Austin. So it wasn't like I was living there, but it was my home base.
Yeah.
And it was for 25 years. And I guess I never thought about like the house was no longer going to be ours anymore.
Yeah.
And even though my parents, I knew they were going to move to Colombia and that was going to be the plan for a year, it's still kind of like, I was like, oh, it's not going to, like, I didn't think about it. And then like when it happened, I was back home about 2 months ago and, leaving the house, I was like, damn, this is it. Like it's gone. It's not my house anymore.
Yeah, Rhode Island's not home anymore.
And Rhode Island's not home anymore. Well, it's home in the sense of like Rhode Island will always be where the heart is, but I don't got a home base there.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I got no home base there. And it was just really interesting because while that is a reality, it hasn't slowed down my life at all. I'm still living every day. Life still got to go on.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's just one of those things where you thought that. I think about relationships that we were when we were younger. We're like, oh, this going to be it forever. And, the heartbreak. And it's like,
you been heartbroken?
life goes on. Well, what I thought was heartbroken. You know what I mean?
No.
You know what I'm saying?
But it is funny you say something about, that is something that's getting older. You can see that change. Like the house you were raised in, you no longer have that home base. And I'm even thinking about that as, like, say, my dad passed away. Now my mom lives in the house, and we've lived in the house since I was 7.
Yeah.
And it's always been home. I go back home. I go to my room. It's very familiar. I still have keys. Like, that's still home. I couldn't imagine the day where, I don't have that spot to go back to. That would be hella change. And that's something that God forbid if something don't happen to my mom, that's something I would have to think about and fight. Like, do I just keep this place,
right,
this home here, and in Arkansas just because that's what home is, or would I have to make a tough decision and being like, I mean, Arkansas will always be home for me just because I have so much family back there.
Sure.
So a little bit different, but still that specific address, that specific plot on this earth is like home to me. I know I can, and that's one of the things that have made me, I feel like made me so willing to change or so willing to, evolve or take on these risks is because I knew that I could always go back home.
Yep.
And if it isn't there anymore, how does that make you feel? Like, is there a fear, anxiety with that? And you're in that situation now, but is there a fear, anxiety? Like, yo, if everything failed here in Austin, where could you go? And I guess, you could go back, family members.
It is, but here's what I'm going to say this, and I think this will be a good way for us to tie it up and finish this up here. But, like, in reality, man, change is what's got us where we are today.
Absolutely.
Like, can you think of a change that you regret? And when I say regret means that you had control over it. Obviously, I wish my sister was here. I wish, you wish your dad was here, but that's part of change. But, like, when it comes down to it, any change that happened, is there really anything where you're like, man, we got to take that back? Because, like, I think there's people that can say that, but I think in the honest truth, it's like,
in the honest truth,
no.
Yeah.
Like I'm here.
Yep.
It's part of growth. Change is growth.
Yes.
Whether
absolutely.
Change is learning, and change is what you make of it.
Absolutely.
And that's part of the acceptance that if it's going to happen, I'm going to make the best of it. And I'll tell you right now, the most resilient, successful, and happiest people on the planet are the people that embrace change.
You have to.
You have to.
It's always changing. We're always evolving, whether we like it or not. The world around us is evolving.
100%.
And as long as we live in this world, this evolving world, we're gonna need to make, we're gonna need to evolve as well.
Yeah.
Tie-in. That's the company I work for. Evolve. Anyways,
real quick, I do want to say one thing on that thing. I do want to be clear when we say we gotta accept change. It doesn't mean that, like, negative things happen, oppression happening out of nowhere, blah, blah, is something that you need to accept and just be like, all right, I'm going to accept it. That acceptance is, okay, this is what's happening now. What do I do about it?
Yes.
Like, that is what we're talking about. For example, there's a lot of oppression still going on in this country. There's a genocide going on in the Middle East and Sudan and Myanmar. That doesn't mean we sit there and go, all right, like, it is what it is. Like, if there's something you can do about it, if there's something like, we don't necessarily mean that. I just want to be clear about that.
No, absolutely.
Sometimes people confuse it.
Viewers out there, I just gave y'all the benefit of the doubt, but that again, that's me.
I'm not calling y'all stupid.
Y'all. I don't trust y'all level.
I don't trust nobody.
No, but I think you're right there. Like, as far as, like, as we wrap this up, like, embrace change, understand that is, and not to dive into it, but I think even in this country that we live in, we have, buzzwords like progressives and conservatives, and I always have thought to myself, why would we ever want to be considered conservative when the world is evolving?
That's a good point. Yep.
And, like, I know it has radicalized the word progressive, but I always want to be progressing. I want to be getting better. If you think about anything in your life, do you want to be progressive or conservative? Do you want your finances to be progressing or conserving? Do you want your relationships to be progressing or like all those things? You want to be progressing. So that's why I always look at it as, like, I want to be progressing and evolving and going forward. And that's kind of how I look at it.
I got no more to add to that. Touche, my friend.
Hey.
All right.
Well,
want to jump into some fun facts?
Some of the funner things
in life.
And I think we, over the last, barring last week's one, I will say that I've enjoyed these. I've learned a lot from these, little tidbits of Herb and Derek's, what we think of the world, fun stuff. So
fuck it, yeah.
As we've getting older, what I would like to bring up today is
Let's hear it.
Rule of 72 when it comes to investing. Are you familiar with this?
I feel like I've heard this, but I'm not sure. So lay some knowledge on me, brother.
No worries. So the Rule of 72, and we're speaking on financial investing, is that it's a way to calculate how long it would take for your money to double based on what your annual return rate is. So if you think about this as a formula, it would be X equals 72 over the annual return rate.
Why 72 though?
Now you get into stuff I don't know.
Okay.
But how it works is, for instance, if you were to put in $1 million, you say,
Yeah,
and
I
you
got
want to
that.
determine.
I got that in this couch somewhere and change
I was wondering
quarters.
why it was a little stiffer
Yeah,
over
yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah. I got it in
You did
change.
say his parents moved to Colombia, but I didn't
Yeah.
know all that. But if you put in $1 million and you want to know how long it will take for you to get to that million to turn into 2 million,
Okay.
you would just take 1 million equals 72 over whatever your annual return rate is. So, for instance, if it was 72 and you were getting, if you were getting a 6% return rate, you would take 72 over 6, which comes out to 12 years. So in order for your million to go to
2 million.
2 million, at the return rate, it'll take about 12 years.
And the return rate is based off of an investment return rate,
Yes.
savings return rate.
Any return rate that you get
Okay.
on that, just as long as it's
Interesting.
annually averaging out 6.
I'm trying to think. We would have to look up why the 72 is important.
Oh boy, no.
I don't know what that is, but I would want to look up. But like, that's actually good to know. I like that because I got my high yield savings account and it's a 4% return rate, annual return rate. Now, granted, that'll be a little bit different because I'm always adding money to it. Are you saying if you throw $1 million, you just let it sit?
Yes.
And you don't add any money to it?
Compound interest. Yes.
It's just compound interest. That's what you're
compound
doing.
interest.
Okay.
Not adding anything. You
okay.
just started with that million. Didn't do anything else to it. You were getting a 6% return rate. It'll take 12 years. If you're getting a 9%, it would take 9 or 72, 9, whatever.
72 divided by 9%.
There
you
we go.
Pull out your calculator.
It'll take you 8 years. There we go.
Okay.
That was neat.
Understood.
So there you go. The rule of 72. If you want to figure out how to double your investment, take how much money you put in there, divide 72 over what your annual return rate is, and you'll get your number.
There we go. Herb is actually giving you guys useful knowledge to use in your adult lives, which was the original idea of this, was like, what kind of useful knowledge can we give everyone? And then I started turning it into just fun facts. So all I got is more of a fun fact. And I don't even know if it's a fun fact, but it's more of like something that I realized at this age, because I think we've always been using it wrong. Not using it wrong. We've thought about it wrong.
All right.
We've thought about evolution.
Okay.
Okay.
I've used it a lot too.
Yeah. And natural selection.
Okay.
What do you think evolution and natural selection is? Like, what have we been taught that we think that it means?
That the kind of like the cream rises of the or
survival of the fittest.
Survival of the fittest.
Right?
There we go. Darwinism.
Isn't that what you hear? What does that mean? Survival of the fittest.
That the strongest will survive. The strongest of us, the toughest of us. The weak will.
How do they get stronger? How do they become the strongest?
Evolution.
And
right?
I'm not saying that you know the answer, but what do you think? What do you think it means? Right?
I would just say through evolution and change.
Change. Okay. Fair enough. You're not wrong. But the way I understood when I heard survival of the fittest, and when we talk about survival of the fittest, you talk about the person who works the hardest or the animal that figures out physically how to survive in a certain way. And it's all this thing like the animal, the organism does something intentionally to evolve better than the other ones. A prime example is giraffes. Giraffes had a long neck. Now, why did they evolve to have a long neck? The story is, what would you think the story is?
For survival, somehow, wherever they were living at, they couldn't reach the trees to get their nutrients, so they had to evolve to be able to survive, to eat.
So, half right, half wrong.
Okay.
What natural selection is and evolution is actually not called survival of the fittest. It's more properly coined arrival of the fittest. So what does that mean? What that means is that animals and organisms don't necessarily evolve purposely to, for example, no giraffe was trying to get plants on a tree higher, and so they stretched their neck down, made it longer, and then all of a sudden, no. What it is it's mutations in the genes. Somewhere down the line, a couple of giraffes had a mutation in their genes that made their necks a little longer. Yes. So there was a percent of them that had these longer necks. The other ones were like, oh, those are fucking weird. And then those bred, and they kept breeding, and that mutation ended up being beneficial for them. Yeah. And so then they became their survivors. Oh. So it was the arrival of the mutation, hence the arrival of the fittest. And so that's all we are in this evolution. We evolved through a different mutation and turned into Homo sapiens, as the Homo erectus. And then we evolved with a mutation that gave us bigger brains to be able to cooperate more, and that's why we survived. But it was nothing that was purposely done. It was all a complete accident. It's all mutations that happen to benefit that creature more, and it breeds and it ends up out surviving the other ones because its mutation is a benefit.
Right.
And that's how evolution happens. It's all just little mutations in the gene pool that end up benefiting a particular organism more, and they survive because they're better suited for the environment around them. Complete accident.
Yes, that's crazy.
To me, that kind of blew my mind because I always thought of it like, like this motherfucker grew longer teeth because, I don't know, it just did because the environment around it told it that it needed to. And it was like, no, it was just an honest mistake. There was a mutation. It ended up happening, and then boom.
Yeah, I'm over thinking of like chameleons and like things like that. Had these, like, you see these freakish, creatures in on Earth and things and like that, and you have these weird features or characteristics of it. That all makes sense.
Yeah, and then people are like, oh, it evolved to do this to the environment. It was like, no, it was a complete mutation where a couple of them ended up having this feature. I'll call it feature for lack of a better thing. This what's the word? What do we call it? What? Not a feature, a
characteristic.
A characteristic. A characteristic that ended up benefiting it in the environment that it was already in. And that's why that particular one evolved, bred more, they survived, and then everyone else died out because they were no longer able to fit within that environment.
Yeah. So all the short neck giraffes thought the weird neck giraffes.
Long
neck was like, oh, yeah, look at this weird.
Yeah, look at this weird neck.
They can't. All the food around and they went through a dry spell. I'm gonna tell you what happened though.
Now we go to the story.
Through the dry spell, and the leaves of the trees, they grow better and higher. So the long neck was gonna get more food, and the short necks would die.
Yeah,
shame on them.
Shame on them. You was cracking on me. Now look at me. We out here in these streets.
We don't even remember short neck giraffes. We don't even know if they existed or not.
A blip in the freaking history of the giraffes. Go to the giraffe store. They got good biographies about them.
Brought to you by Herb and Derek. On discount Adultin. Bro,
I don't know. I thought that was a good one, right? I thought
that is pretty good because I definitely, you always hear the survival of the fittest and Darwinism and that's all that type of thing. So I think I like that arrival.
It's the arrival
of the fittest.
It's the arrival.
The arrival.
The arrival of the mutation that ends up taking over, baby.
Hey, there we go. I'll take it.
Hey, dog. This was literally an hour, pretty much flat. Our first time.
Evolving.
We're evolving. We're changing. We're changing. We're accepting the change. We're accepting the change, and we're accepting the aging. We'll get back to you about our surgery in Turkey for our hair.
Yeah, we keep it posted. And if you want to donate, let's let us know. We'll jump in. We'll give you a cash app, something. We'll do something. But Derek,
all right, brother. Again. Good talk.
Yep.
Peace.
Peace.